Happy Halloween, everyone, and welcome back to First on Fraud. I'm Sarah, your fraud fighting friend in the title industry, and I am joined as always by my good friend Matt Sager. Boo, Matt. Matt, you're obviously a cyber criminal. I love it. That's freaking great.
Well, either that or I'm just dressed like every Gen Z or millennial.
For those of you who are listening and not watching, Matt has got a hoodie pulled tight, sunglasses on, and looks just like a cyber criminal. And I am dressed just like Matt, complete with a mustache and a bald cap. But Matt, I gotta tell you, I don't know how you live like this. I am dying of heat. You live in Phoenix. I don't know how you wear these layers all the time.
You get used to it.
This is coming off. This is not me. I can't do the mustache.
Well,
this is so fun.
I can't do the mustache either.
You did not. Matt Sager. Matt has shaved off everyone his beautiful mustache, and I don't know why you would do that. That's aggressive. It will grow back though, right?
All good things must come to an end, and it's time to start fresh, start anew. It'll be back. And so by the time we have our next episode, I'll have a full Tom Selleck.
Oh my goodness. I hope so, because this is scary enough. I'm here to talk about fraud, forgery, and all kinds of real estate horror stories that don't involve adding a granny flat for your mother-in-law, Matt. Believe it or not, fraudsters don't rest in peace. Today, we're going to talk about how these scams involve the deceased haunt the real estate industry.
Yep. Today's episode, we're calling it the Dead Man Deeds, because apparently dead people are still doing real estate deals. I mean, who knew? So let's give them pumpkin to talk about.
Pumpkin, oh my gosh. You know, you're going to come for the costume, stay for the dad jokes today and the Halloween puns.
It starts now.
And I'm going to start with a story that came to me from one of our very talented underwriters and a fierce fraud fighter here at First American, Ms. Mary Kate Brandon out of Tennessee. Shout out to you, Miss Mary Kay. So MK first alerted me to this fraudster operating in Tennessee a few years ago. And it was just kind of crazy because this woman was using the online recording system to record deeds to herself.
Yeah, she was using
her
real name.
Yeah. Like, of course she got caught and arrested, but like all good fraudsters, and especially the pros, they keep at it. They don't care if they get arrested.
Persistence pays.
And then she would file fake deeds and then turn around and sell those properties that, of course, you know, she didn't actually own.
Yeah, she didn't own them. So she would take the deeds using the deceased person's name and convey it to herself using her real name.
Yeah, she would create also fake trust documents using the name of the deceased person and file quitclaim deeds transferring those properties. And then she would turn around and she would list them on my favorite place for fraud, Facebook Marketplace.
Yep, well, that's your first clue, Sherlock, that there may be something going on here. When the Facebook Marketplace, you know, for listing properties, I'm not so sure that's the place you should be looking for real estate. That's where you go to buy patio furniture. And man, we just did an episode on this talking about scams and schemes on Facebook Marketplace. So I'm starting to see a little bit of a theme here.
You know what? But it worked, Matt, because she sold 19 properties on Marketplace, over $1.4 million. So not only was she successful, but there are people out there buying on Marketplace. But these poor people, they had no idea they were purchasing stolen homes. Attempting fraud using a deceased person's property or their identities is very low friction because it poses low risk of getting caught. And we see this a lot, and you're going to hear me repeat that friction theme throughout this entire podcast, you know, series of that fraudsters like where there's low friction, where they're not going to get caught. And certainly if the person is deceased, they're not going to necessarily get caught unless the estate or a neighbor or somebody else who might know or have an interest in the property catches it.
What pointers or tips do you have to, you know, help detect or help work through these types of situations?
If the owner is deceased, make sure the estate has legal authority to sell. That's like number one. And also, just check to make sure that they are still alive. It's not necessarily apparent that someone is deceased just by looking at the record, but you can check also probate records.
So are you recommend
And
they check the pulse of the person to make sure they're alive?
no, but you can look at court record filings, letters of administration, wills, look at the obits to see if there's any type of listing and see if the person is still with us. Because you know what? Court documents have been known to be faked.
Oh, it's not that hard. In fact, Sarah, I just came across a situation that happened recently where an attorney,
Mm.
provided falsified court documents, and everyone was relying on the reputation of the attorney and just trusted that these documents provided by him were authentic. But not only were they not
Yeah.
authentic, what the attorney did, he's falsified these court documents showing that he was the administrator of an estate. And
He was
so
her lawyer.
he was the lawyer.
Ooh.
Yep. The person was deceased, didn't have any heirs. And so the attorney just, used those fake court, the probate documents, and based on that, conveyed the property to a company that the attorney owned. And then the attorney turned around and sold the property and took all the proceeds. So,
Ooh, you're in trouble, sir.
oh, he was, and he's been disbarred.
Yes, he
So,
has.
but going to your point of that whole low friction, this was low friction because this was, a situation where there were no heirs.
But also a crime of opportunity. And so that's what, a lot of crime, and that just in life, we talk about crimes of opportunity, doors being, left unlocked, that type of thing. But this is a crime of opportunity too, because he knew this person didn't have any heirs. And
Yep.
so there are fraudsters out there that are called, and I call them this, obit trolls. And that's what they do. They troll the obits looking for people whose obituaries don't list family members. And they're looking for that crime of opportunity where they can swoop in, steal the property. And it could be, a neighbor, it could be a family friend, a caretaker, a trusted advisor, an attorney, accountant, somebody who is aware of a situation that creates an opportunity for a fraud.
Yep. So, Sarah, we got another wild one. Did you hear the situation about out in Philadelphia where a man was linked to at least like 6 suspicious property transfers? And the sixth sense twist here, of course, is the original owners were all deceased for quite a few years.
It's not surprising to me, and the thing is it becomes like a real problem if the people don't have anyone, because who's going to complain, right? And you've got somebody who's bought the property and they're living in it, and what do you do? It becomes a real issue. But I know on this one too that this gentleman, not only did he forge the documents, and with the forgery, of course, came, fake notarizations, but he also faked the title company as well. And so if you're in a deal and you're buying a property, make sure that you are working with a real title company. That's just basic, right? But
Yeah,
it's true,
it's
you
a little
don't
surprising we
know.
have to say that.
We
Use
do. We
use a real
do.
title company.
But oftentimes in deals, you leave it up to, who the seller recommends and who the seller wants in the contract. But it's really incumbent upon the buyer or the buyer's agent to make sure they reach out and make contact through verified sources that title agent actually has a file open, and that you don't have one of these situations where the fraudster is pretending to also be the title company.
Yep.
Impressive and illegal.
So, Sarah, I hope those fraudsters get what's coming to them and that their homes are haunted by their victims' ghosts.
I hope they get haunted by you, so
So
they
wait,
just live with pranks all the time, because I imagine that's what you would be like as a ghost, hilarious and full of pranks. None of these stories compare to the story out of Brazil. Did you see this video? This woman wheels her uncle into a bank to sign a loan. And the staff noticed that his head was hanging back, and they commented like, "Hey, he doesn't look right." And she just missed it. Was like, "Oh, that's how he looks all the time. That's just him." And they said, okay, but he's going to need to be the one that signs the loan documents. So, they give him a pen and she like crimps his hand around the pen to try to sign. And the staff was like, he really doesn't look well. His color is off. And she insisted he was fine. She was like, yeah, didn't you just see him open the door? Yeah, he just did that. Like, yeah, no, we didn't see that happen. The staff grew concerned enough that they called the police. And of course, the police arrive and discovered that the man was actually dead.
This sure sounds like that film from the 80s, Weekend at Bernie's, where
Oh my gosh.
they were trying to make, Bernie, who had died, look like he was still alive. So they
And
would
partying,
move
right?
him. And yep. Oh, Bernie, he's not dead. He's great. See, he's waving. And so
But yeah, Bernie was jet skiing.
yeah, this is the Weekend at Bernie's for Brazil.
This is absolutely that exact thing she did. But listen, after she was arrested, her lawyer tried to defend that he had died in the bank. But the autopsy, no, get rid of that whole entire legal theory. He had died hours before and he had died lying down. So that means she had propped him up and brought him in and wheeled him in dead into the bank. And thankfully, she was charged with attempted theft through fraud and for violating a corpse. It does not get any spookier than that.
Goes without saying that nothing good comes from committing a crime, but I guess if we were to get something good out of it, we get to share these ghastly stories to keep all of you listening and from making some kind of grave mistake.
Oh my gourd, Matt. Really leaning into those Halloween puns. They're really to die for.
And they just keep coming.
So, Matt, do you have any tips that you would share with anyone who's listening today besides our puns?
Yeah, I recommend, hey, watch out for red flags. So if there's been a long-term property ownership, so they've held title for a long time, watch out for that. And if the property's been in disrepair, that may be an indication that the parties may be deceased or, belongings that remain in the property after closing. So that tells you that nobody was there to move anything out. So those are things to watch for, for sale by owners or rushed cashed only deals.
And if you are a real estate agent or a lender, don't be afraid to ask questions. If something feels off, trust your gut. These fraudsters are counting on people to be polite and, too busy to like really dig in or dig deeper. Get it?
So yes.
Dig deeper. Listen, I can't stop with the pun today. Even though we've had a ton of fun and a ton of jokes today, even with our costumes, this is a serious subject. Don't give fraudsters the advantage.
Yeah.
Dig deeper, ask questions. Don't be afraid to do your due diligence on deals and to find out, if the seller has anything to uncover.
Yep. So what have we learned today? Like if dead people don't sell houses, and if they do, call your underwriter immediately.
Yeah, you know what? In title insurance, it's not just paperwork, it's your Ghostbuster. So thank you all for joining us on First on Fraud. I want you to stay safe, stay skeptical, and keep those monsters out of your deals.
Yeah.
Until next time, everyone, thank you so much.
Thanks for joining.
This episode is copyright 2025 by First American Financial Corporation, all rights reserved.